The banana is one of the most widely consumed fruits in the world. In the United States, the average person eats around 27 pounds of bananas each year. It's a breakfast staple for millions of families, especially for people over 55 who grew up with the habit of eating a banana every day, associating this fruit with fond childhood memories, the breakfast table, and the school lunchbox. And when the doctor gives a diagnosis of diabetes, one of the first questions a person asks, or thinks but is too embarrassed to ask, is, "Can I still eat bananas?" And the correct answer, which is different from what many people have heard, is yes, a person with diabetes can eat bananas. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And the difference between the two can be the difference between a blood sugar spike that damages blood vessels, kidneys, and nerves over time, and a meal that nourishes without compromising blood sugar control. Today, I'm going to explain what science says about bananas and blood glucose, what 4 factors determine whether a banana will raise your sugar slowly or abruptly, which varieties are most suitable for someone with diabetes, how to combine the fruit to protect your blood sugar, and what the 5 most common mistakes are that turn a healthy fruit into a completely avoidable glycemic problem. I'm Dr. Sarah Walker, and before we continue, a quick note. If you want more than 630 practical recipes designed for the daily life of someone with diabetes, including ways to use bananas correctly, the link to our ebook is in the description. Now, let's get to what matters. Subscribe to the channel. Every week, I publish health content here with real scientific backing, explained clearly and without alarmism, especially for those 55 and older. The standard warning I never fail to make. Everything you learn here is a supplement to your medical treatment, never a substitute. Continue with your medications and regular follow-ups. The goal today is to help you make smarter dietary decisions within a plan your doctor or nutritionist has already outlined. Let's start by debunking the most harmful myth about bananas and diabetes. Many people believe bananas are forbidden for diabetics because they are sweet, that any sweet-tasting fruit is automatically dangerous for those with high blood sugar. This is a myth that unnecessarily pushes people away from a nutritious, accessible, and deeply integrated food in our culture, with no scientific basis for it. The American Diabetes Association is clear on this point, even on its own website. No fruit is forbidden for people with diabetes. What matters is understanding the appropriate portion size, the stage of ripeness, the form of consumption, and the combination with other foods. These 4 factors together determine the real impact of a banana on blood sugar, and when you understand each of them, the banana ceases to be a threat and becomes an ally rich in potassium, B vitamins, magnesium, fiber, and antioxidants. But before we get into each factor, I need to explain 2 concepts that will transform how you see not only bananas, but all the foods you choose, the glycemic index and the glycemic load. These 2 concepts are fundamental, and confusing one with the other is exactly what leads people to make poor dietary decisions. The glycemic index, abbreviated as GI, is a measure that indicates how quickly the carbohydrates in a food are absorbed and raise blood glucose. The scale goes from 0 to 100. Foods with a GI below 55 are considered low glycemic index, which is desirable. Between 56 and 69 is moderate. Above 70 is high. White bread, for comparison, has a glycemic index above 70. A ripe yellow banana has a glycemic index of around 52, which is classified as low. This fact alone changes a lot about how a person with diabetes should view this fruit, but the glycemic index alone only tells half the story. The other half is the glycemic load, which takes into account not only the speed of absorption, but also the amount of carbohydrates present in a real portion. A food can have a moderate glycemic index, but if you eat a small amount, the total glycemic load is low. That's why understanding both concepts together is essential for making smart choices day to day. In the case of a banana, the glycemic index ranges from 42 to 62, depending on its ripeness. This places it in a range from low to moderate. And a small portion of a banana, about half a medium-sized fruit, has a low glycemic load. These data together show that a banana consumed in the correct portion is not a problematic food for a diabetic who makes conscious choices. Now let's move on to the first factor, which is the most important and the one that surprises people the most when they discover it: ripeness. A banana is not always the same fruit from a glycemic point of view. Depending on its stage of ripeness, it can have a very different impact on your blood sugar. Understanding this difference is probably the most practical piece of information in this entire video. When a banana is green or semi-green, with the peel still showing traces of green, it contains a very high proportion of resistant starch. Resistant starch is a special type of carbohydrate that, as the name suggests, resists digestion in the small intestine. It is not broken down into glucose and absorbed like other carbohydrates. Instead, it continues almost intact to the large intestine, where it is fermented by the beneficial bacteria of the microbiota, acting as a prebiotic that feeds the healthy gut flora. The glycemic impact of a green or semi-green banana is therefore much lower than that of a ripe banana. Research based on guidelines from major diabetes associations confirms that the resistant starch in green bananas contributes to a lower glycemic and insulin response, aiding in the management of type 2 diabetes. Additional research confirms that green bananas release glucose more slowly and controllably into the blood compared to ripe bananas. As the banana ripens, the resistant starch is progressively converted into simple sugars, mainly sucrose, glucose, and fructose. The more yellow and soft it is, the more simple sugar and less resistant starch it has. When the peel starts to show dark spots, the conversion is at an advanced stage, and at this point, the banana has the highest glycemic impact of its entire lifespan. This doesn't mean that a very ripe banana is forbidden for diabetics. A ripe yellow banana still has a glycemic index of approximately 52, which is low. But it does mean that a banana at the right stage, with a yellow but still firm peel and without dark spots, has an even lower glycemic impact and is the smartest choice for those who want to maximize glycemic control. In practice, the criterion is simple. Prefer a banana that isn't completely soft when you gently squeeze it. A banana with a firm yellow peel without dark spots scattered across it has a more favorable ratio of resistant starch and will raise your blood sugar more slowly than that very soft, sugary banana you recognize by its intense, sweet smell. The second factor is the variety, and this is a particularly relevant aspect because different varieties have distinct nutritional profiles. The most common variety in most supermarkets is the Cavendish banana. It's rich in potassium, vitamin B6, vitamin C, magnesium, and fiber. A small Cavendish banana, or half of a medium-sized one, is a suitable portion size for a person with diabetes who wants to include the fruit in their routine without compromising blood sugar. Smaller varieties like ladyfinger bananas are often a good choice as they are naturally more portion-controlled. For those who want an even more controlled option in terms of carbohydrates per serving, these smaller bananas are an excellent pick. Plantains, a starchier cousin of the banana, have a higher glycemic index, especially when eaten raw, which is uncommon. They are better suited for consumption when cooked, which modifies some of the starch, although cooking itself also raises the glycemic index compared to the raw version of other varieties. Plantains are a staple in many cultures and can be incorporated into a diabetic diet, but with carefully controlled portions and always accompanied by additional protein or fiber. The third factor, and here is one of the most powerful points we've built together in recent videos: the combination with other foods. In the videos about the correct order of foods and about chewing, we established that the context of a meal completely changes the glycemic impact of any carbohydrate. It's no different with a banana. Eating a banana alone on an empty stomach without any other food is the way that produces the sharpest glycemic spike. Eating a banana as part of a meal or combined with good quality protein and fat is the way that distributes the glucose absorption over a longer period. The combinations that work best and are practical for everyday life are as follows: banana with almonds, walnuts, or peanuts. The fat and protein in the nuts slow down gastric emptying and create a buffer that smooths out the absorption of the fruit's sugar. A small handful of nuts with a banana at the right ripeness is one of the smartest snack combinations for a person with diabetes. Banana with plain unsweetened yogurt. The protein in the yogurt, as we discussed in the video on food order, stimulates the release of GLP-1, the hormone that slows gastric emptying and modulates the insulin response. A mashed banana in plain, unsweetened yogurt is a practical, nutritious option with a much gentler glycemic impact than a banana alone. Banana with natural, unsweetened peanut butter. The monounsaturated fat and protein in peanut butter create exactly the buffer we've discussed in previous videos. A semi-green banana with a spoonful of natural peanut butter is a breakfast or snack that nourishes, sustains, and doesn't cause an abrupt spike. Banana with ground flaxseed. As we saw in the video about flaxseed, the soluble fiber in it forms a gel that slows down glucose absorption. A mashed banana with a tablespoon of ground flaxseed and a spoonful of peanut butter is a combination that applies multiple layers of glycemic protection at the same time. There is also the best context of all to eat a banana as a dessert right after a complete meal. Within a meal that has already started with salad and vegetables, that already has protein where the main carbohydrates came last according to the correct order we learned together, the banana consumed as dessert finds a gut already partially protected by a fiber buffer and with GLP-1 already active. The glycemic impact is much lower than it would be as an isolated snack hours later. As we discussed in the video on food order, dessert immediately after the main meal is always less problematic from a glycemic standpoint than the same food consumed between meals. The fourth factor is the form of consumption, and this is where the biggest mistakes happen that turn a healthy fruit into an unnecessary problem. The whole natural banana, requiring chewing, is always the most suitable form for a person with diabetes. The fibers are intact, the resistant starch is preserved in its structure, and chewing activates the mechanisms we discussed in the specific video on chewing, including salivary amylase, which begins carbohydrate digestion in the mouth, and the stimulation of GLP-1 by the fruit's solid texture. When a banana is blended in a smoothie, especially with sweet fruit juice, the fibers are partially destroyed. The resistant starch loses its structure, and the sugar is absorbed much more quickly. A banana smoothie with orange juice, for example, combines two fast carbohydrate foods in liquid form without intact fibers, without the chewing that activates protective mechanisms, and the result is a significant glycemic spike in the early hours of the day, which is exactly the worst time for a diabetic to have this type of spike. If you want to have a smoothie that includes a banana, use unsweetened almond or soy milk as a base, add natural peanut butter, and prefer to blend it for less time to keep larger pieces that preserve some of the fiber. This composition, as we mentioned in the video about the right milk for diabetics, has a much more favorable glycemic impact. Cooked or baked bananas also have a higher glycemic impact than raw bananas because the heat transforms some of the resistant starch into available starch, speeding up digestion. This doesn't mean baked banana is forbidden, but that it requires a smaller portion and combination with protein when consumed in this form. Now for the 5 most common mistakes that make a banana an unnecessary glycemic problem. The first mistake is eating a very ripe banana with a peel full of dark spots as an isolated afternoon snack. This banana has already converted almost all its resistant starch into simple sugar, has the maximum glycemic impact, and without protein or fat alongside it, the spike is practically inevitable. The second mistake is drinking a banana smoothie or juice with other sweet fruits. Banana with orange, mango, or pineapple juice is a concentration of rapidly absorbed sugar in liquid form, without any protective buffer. For a person with diabetes, this is one of the most problematic breakfast preparations. The third mistake is eating a large banana thinking it's a small portion. A large Cavendish banana has almost double the carbohydrates of a small one. Size matters a lot. A small banana or half of a medium-sized one is the appropriate portion for most people with diabetes. The glycemic load of 2 large bananas is completely different from half a small banana, even if the glycemic index is the same. The fourth mistake is eating a banana with sugary cereals, cookies, or white bread. A banana is already a source of carbohydrates. When you eat it along with other high-impact carbohydrates, the total glycemic load of the meal multiplies. Combining a banana with yogurt or nuts replaces a carbohydrate with protein or fat, which is smart. Combining a banana with more carbohydrates is the opposite. The fifth mistake is completely eliminating bananas from your diet out of fear, giving up all their nutrients for no scientific reason. The banana is a major source of potassium. Potassium is essential for cardiovascular and muscular health, and a person with diabetes who also has high blood pressure, which is very common, needs this mineral even more. Bananas are a source of vitamin B6, which supports nerve health, relevant for diabetics who have or are at risk of neuropathy. They are a source of magnesium, which we discussed in the video on tinnitus as essential for the cochlear nerve and which diabetics also tend to lose more of through urination. They are a source of tryptophan, which aids in serotonin production and improves sleep. And they are a source of antioxidants, including plant-based dopamine, lutein, and zeaxanthin, which have a protective effect on cells. Cutting bananas completely from your diet out of fear of a fruit that science classifies as low to moderate glycemic index is an unnecessary nutritional sacrifice. To conclude, here is the correct banana protocol for a person with diabetes in the form of simple rules you can remember. Choose the banana at the right stage. Yellow peel, firm to the touch, without scattered dark spots. Prefer smaller varieties or portion sizes. Eat 1 small banana or half a medium one, never a large banana all at once. Always combine it with protein or good fat, nuts, peanut butter, plain unsweetened yogurt, cheese. Prefer to eat it as a dessert after a full meal or as a combined snack, never on an empty stomach alone. Always eat the whole fruit, never in a juice or smoothie with other sweet fruits. If you want a smoothie, use unsweetened plant-based milk and add peanut butter. And monitor your blood glucose 1 and 2 hours later to learn how your specific body responds to the banana because individual responses vary from person to person. The banana is not the enemy of a person with diabetes. It is a fruit that, used with intelligence and the right information, can be part of the diet with pleasure, without guilt, and without compromising glycemic control. And if you want to get access to over 630 practical recipes designed for people with diabetes, including smart combinations with bananas and other fruits that respect your blood sugar, our ebook 630, Simple Recipes for Diabetics, is available for a special one-time payment. The link is right here in the description. Comment below, did you cut bananas from your diet because of diabetes? Are you going to start eating them again with today's tips? Let me know which combination you'll try first. This exchange of real experience helps everyone who is here learning together. Share this video with someone who has diabetes and thinks bananas are forbidden forever. This information could give back to that person one of the most nutritious, accessible, and beloved fruits that exist. Subscribe to the channel. Every week I publish health content here.